Hello guys, I am sure you remember how before the start of that special military operation to Ukraine, Putin addressed his nation. And in his speech, he persuaded the Russian population that after a really blitzkrieg, Kyiv will fall, Ukraine will be demilitarized, will be added to Russia's territory, and the dream of the Soviet Union will become reality again. But now, after 2.5 years of full-scale invasion, Putin is very far away from Kyiv, and the Ukrainian armed forces are in Kursk region of the Russian Federation and continue to advance. This is an extremely important humiliation of the Russian dictator. And no, it will not lead to the escalation. Well, first of all, these days after the start of Kursk operation have demonstrated us panic and chaos in the Kremlin. And second, Putin wants to leave, and he knows if he uses any dangerous weapons or does something crazy, not only the democratic world will stop him, but China may stop supporting him, or he may be simply neutralized. So let's discuss these different levels of Putin's humiliation, not just in the start of the Kursk special military operation of the Ukrainian armed forces, but since the very start of the full-scale invasion. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see more of the Russian regions liberated and Putin humiliated many more times until the complete defeat of the Kremlin, subscribe. I'm sure we will discuss all of this sometime soon on the channel and share the videos that you like. So, of course, the success of the Kursk special military operation of the Ukrainian armed forces is extremely important for a number of reasons. First of all, we create a buffering zone to protect Ukrainian regions from constant Russian shelling and artillery. And this is important. Second, we make Russia withdraw many of its troops from front lines in Ukraine and move them back to Russia where they belong. But one of the most important tasks that was achieved since the start of the special military operation in Kursk is the humiliation of Putin. This is the political purpose, the political task of our Kursk operation. And this is a humiliation. Those sensitive supporters of Russia may try and deny everything, but even propagandists remain silent. Everyone pretends nothing is happening, but everyone understands something major happened in the course of this war. But before we start discussing what kind of humiliation Kursk brought to Putin's declining political career and on what levels it can be seen, I would like to remind you are the failures of the Grand Commander of the Mother Russia since the start of the full-scale invasion. Well, first of all, the very idea of blitzkrieg. I'm sure that many of other authoritarian partners of Russia agreed on Putin's adventure in Ukraine because they thought it will definitely be a blitzkrieg, that other countries will quickly forget, no time for sanctions, no time for reactions, Ukraine falls, Russia gets bigger, everything is forgotten in a year. But no, blitzkrieg failed. And it is an extremely long, exhausting war that does not show signs of ending. But what is important, it's exhausting not only for Ukraine, but for Russia too. And now in particular, because the war has returned back home to Russia. So humiliation number one, failure of blitzkrieg. Then, very quickly at the start of the invasion, because Ukraine did not believe that Russia is that irrational, that violent, they took over large areas of Kharkiv region. And then, after a successful Ukrainian operation, all of these territories were liberated. Actually, this task was performed under the command of General Syrsky, who is now also operating the Kursk tasks. So the second failure is this quick withdrawal from Kharkiv region. Then many of you remember Kherson, and that was indeed beautiful. I remember the videos of people dancing with Ukrainian flags when this regional center returned back to Ukraine, and actually it was the only one new regional center that was occupied in 2022, and Russia did not manage to keep it. Subscribe to see more of Russian failures. That's beautiful, and that's important to stop being afraid of bullies. So this is number 3. And number 4, now, the Ukrainian armed forces taking control over 82, if not more, settlements in Kursk region. The Ukrainian military commandment created in Kursk region. And everybody knows that. International journalists coming to Kursk, that is under control of the Ukrainian armed forces, creating a buffering zone. People read about that. People know that. I'm sure intelligence services of Putin's allies report that. And maybe you've noticed only Syria out of other Putin's allies commented about the dangers of this anti-terroristic operation in Kursk region. All the others remain silent. Another very important thing that you might have not fixed is that, have you heard Putin speaking about nuclear weapons or Medvedev addressing us? No, because right now they are terrified, and believe me, they know really well they cannot use nuclear weapons, even on their own territory. By the way, I'm more worried for Russian civilians under the control of Russian army than under the control of Ukrainian, because all the journalists, all the missions that have come to Kursk, and even Russian people report they like Ukrainian soldiers. But Russia can get crazy in its desire to get the territories back, and I'm sure they will shell these lands like crazy, not caring for their own people. But they will not use nuclear weapons, neither in Ukraine nor in Russia. I totally agree with Jake Bro, who is definitely a professional in this field of analysis. And in his recent video, he reminded about his previous video where he spoke about multitude of reasons why Russia will not use the nuclear weapons. But I totally agree with these 2 arguments. Number 1, they know China will abandon them. Perhaps China supporting Russia and Russia's survival, Russia's military campaigns are only possible because China provides them with everything. But I'm sure they promised to China as their vassal, as their serf, that they will not use nuclear weapons at all. Not only against Ukraine or against England or against the US, but even on their own territory in Kursk. Because this will open a Pandora's box, and nobody wants that, including Putin. And another extremely interesting argument I haven't thought about, but it might be actually true. I often ask myself the question, why Putin is still alive? You know, after so many James Bond movies, when we know sometimes it's better to neutralize a really bad person before this bad person causes some great troubles to the planet. But one of the reasons may be that this intelligence services, global leaders know he will not use nuclear weapons. Because if he does, that is a suicide. And not just for him, but for lots of people around him. And they will definitely try to stop him if he decides to do that. And I believe it's very realistic. But this humiliation of Putin is great. And it is discussed on different levels. On the international, I'm sure China sees, well, they long ago they knew it is not an equal partner, it's a dependent vassal, but now it is even more visible. And this superpower, second strongest army in the world, is not able to control their territories. And it may be that sometime soon more of the Russian territories in Belgorod and Bryansk region will be taken by the Ukrainian liberators or Russia freedom movements. So of course, I cannot imagine, perhaps Putin will not pick up a phone when Xi will be calling him, or Kim Jong-un, because how will he explain that? on the national level. And Russia is a mafia state, and people around Putin are gangsters, criminals just like him, and they hate weakness. That's a world of predators, and they eat very quickly the weakest, and they see that Putin created them lots of problems. Now, Russians agreed on this absence of choice, absence of elections for the sake of stability. They are a kind of society very different from us, but they don't want freedom, they don't want choice, they prefer stability. And stability meant nothing is happening in Russia. And that's why actually the Russian population did not care much about war crimes in Ukraine. It did not happen on that territory. Now it does. It does. And there are lots of people evacuated from Kursk region. They are not doing their jobs, they are not earning or spending money, and they have families, they report about things happening. They see Ukrainian flags flying on their post offices and administrations, and they do understand that Russian TV was lying, saying that after 2.5 years of the full-scale war, almost nothing left of Ukraine, not just the Ukrainian army, but here they see strong, nice, and even kind Ukrainian guys taking off Russian flags and putting Ukrainian. Russian propagandists, they don't know what to say. It goes against their doctrine, and they haven't found yet or how to explain what had happened. And you know what actually demonstrates this weakness and chaos and totally unprepared Russia for its defense? That they pretend nothing serious is happening, that Putin will simply add the Kursk region to the list of regions he wants to get from Ukraine during the negotiations. I'm sure all of you understand that no real negotiations were coming our way. By the way, there were rumors that some secret negotiations had to take place in Doha. I've read about that. If you want to hear more about that, let me know in the comments below and I will record the video. But I am sure now everyone sees that the king or the emperor, what's the correct phrase, is without the clothes. Very much without the clothes. And no escalation. Because Russia cannot escalate and Russia does not have what to escalate with. Putin is not a suicidal maniac. He's constantly hiding in his bunkers because he wants to leave. And believe me, all this shellings of Kyiv, for example, they happen even with the Ukrainian troops in Kursk. The destructions of our infrastructure, attacks on our hospitals or hydroelectric stations, or the control over Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, it all happened without the Ukrainian soldiers in Kursk region. But with Ukrainian armed forces controlling some parts of Russia, we have way more chances to return back to 1991 borders, and that's what we do. And the humiliation of Putin is one of many steps that will lead to his defeat and the greatest punishment on earth and in hell that one can think of. I'm sure of that. Share the video if you like, it helps a lot, especially if you do it on different social media. And you know the world needs to know more, because I'm tired of those frightened media who will still try to persuade Ukrainians, wait until they kill you because maybe something will happen. No. Sometimes the best defense is offense, and I think this 10 days, 11 days have already demonstrated you that. Join me on Instagram, X, Threads, and Discord. Please support our NEFO campaign to get more angry birds to liberate more of the Ukrainian territories. That is super important. This is my third campaign. We will definitely report about the results. And we are helping Ukraine drone intelligence, Sky Lords. And thank you so much for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. helping me film and write more. Check our merch shop for lots of good items that celebrate Ukrainian independence and my birthday. We have a special design of a t-shirt that says I have a friend in Ukraine, and I hope you feel that you have a friend in Ukraine. And remember, after we win, you are all invited. Slava Ukraini!